Morning. This is a virtual meeting of the MAG Transportation Safety Committee. So thank you all for joining with us today. Just a reminder as we start to please mute your phone when you are not speaking so we can keep background noise to a minimum. So thank you all for being here today. To start off with, we have the approval of the minutes.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
We need to do a roll call for quorum. So I'll go ahead and do that.
Thank you, Mike.
Sure. Just when I call your name, please unmute and just let us know that you're here. I have Mona Oglanswick for Carrie Wilcoxon, ADOT. Mona? Shane Kiso, Apache Junction.
I'm here.
Tom Peterson, Avondale. John Willett, Buckeye.
Here.
Raymond Hung, Chandler. Aaron Pinkerton, Gilbert. Tony Abbo, Glendale.
Present.
Hugh Biak, Goodyear.
Present.
Woody Scouten, Litchfield Park. Josh Plum, City of Maricopa.
Here.
I have Mazin Moravich for Nicholas Swart.
Here.
Ryan Hudson, Mesa. Jeremy Knapp, Paradise Valley. Brandon Forey, Peoria.
Present.
Mr. Chair, you are here.
Correct, I am here.
Kathy Borges for Jason Botchin, Pinal County.
Here.
I have Marshall Regal for Mohammed Youssef, Cave Creek.
Yes.
I have Sam Taylor for Scottsdale.
Yep, I'm here.
Dana Ossiani for Surprise.
Good morning, I'm here.
Thank you, Dana. Kathy Hollow, Tempe. Adrian Ruiz, Valley Metro. Jeff King, FHWA.
I am here. Thanks.
Alberto Gutier from Governor's Office of Highway Safety. And I'm going to try one more time for Mona Oglanswick for ADOT, proxy for Carrie. All right, with that, Mr. Chair, it looks like we do have quorum.
Pardon me, Margaret. This is Nick Russo from El Mirage. I'm here.
Okay, thank you, Nick.
You're welcome.
Hi, Margaret. This is Frank Sotil, Valley Metro. I apologize for being late.
No problem. I didn't catch your first name. I'm
Frank.
sorry. Frank. Okay, thank you,
Yes.
Frank.
Thank you.
Sounds great. Thank you all for being here today for our meeting. So to continuing on, our next item now is approval of the minutes of last meeting we had. So our last meeting was held via Zoom on July 28th of 2020. The meeting minutes were sent out to everyone beforehand. Does any members of the Transportation Safety Committee have comments or revisions to the July 28th meeting minutes? If you do, please unmute yourself and suggest your comments or changes.
Yeah, Chair, this is Shane, City of AJ. Just one little change on, I think it's item 8 there. I think, Carl, they spelt your name came across wrong, your last name. It says Lane instead of Langford. So just a small little change there.
Mr. Kiso, can you point to which page of the minutes that is?
I believe he said page 8. Paragraph 8. Shane, can you confirm that?
Oh, I see it here. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Shane. Any other comments on the minutes? Okay, seeing none, could I have a motion to recommend approval of the July 28th minutes with the changes noted?
This is Shane, Carl. I'll go ahead and make a motion for the passage of the July 28th minutes with the update there on that section 8.
This is Tony. I second.
Thank you, Shane, and thank you, Tony. So with that, we need to do a roll call for vote.
I'll go ahead and do that.
Thank you, Margaret.
Carl. All right, so Shane Kiso, how do you vote? Yay or nay?
Yay.
Thomas Peterson?
Yay.
John Willett?
Enter your meeting ID.
Yay.
Nick Russo?
Yay.
Tony Abu?
Yay.
Hugh Biak?
Yay.
Josh Plum?
Yay.
Mazen Maradovic?
Yay.
Brendan Forey?
Yay.
Carl Langford?
Yay.
Kathy Borkins?
Yay.
Marshall Riegel?
Yes.
Sam Taylor?
Yes.
Dana Ossiani?
Yes.
Frank from Valley Metro?
Yay.
Jeff King?
Non-voting, but if I could, I'd say yay.
I'm sorry, Jeff, that's right.
No problem.
All right, did I miss anybody that's joined us since roll call?
Aaron
Yeah.
Pearton with Gilbert. Yay.
Kathy Hollow with Tempe, yay.
This is Mona Ackland-Swick, Ada.
How do you vote, Mona?
I just joined, so.
Okay, we're voting on the minutes, so I will put you down as attending.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Chair, it looks like I'd just like to remind everybody, if you're not speaking, please mute your audio. Reduce some feedback here. With that roll call, Mr. Chair, on the minutes, we have enough votes that we can move forward.
Thank you very much, Margaret, and thank you those that voted. Our next item is our call to audience. Members of the public were asked to submit written comments related to this meeting through the MAG website. Comments may be sent at any time leading up to the meeting, but must be received at least 1 hour prior to the posted start time for the meeting. This is the opportunity for the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda or that are on the agenda for discussion and not for action. MAG staff or Margaret, have we received any public comments? And if so, please read them at this time.
Mr. Chair, we have received no comments for this item or any other items.
Thank you for that information, Margaret. So with that, we will move on to agenda item number 4, which is our program manager's report. Margaret, you can go ahead and provide that report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, so the first item in the program manager's report today is the 2020 crossing guard training. We did hold this virtually this year as a Zoom webinar. The webinar recording is now available in both English and Spanish at the URL that's listed here on the screen. We also had a debriefing for the planning team that typically helps put together these crossing guard trainings, and a couple things that we want to do better for next year is better facilitation of the question and answer portion of the training, a better way to assign in attendees. It was really hard to find out what guards were in attendance. Sometimes they left out their school, sometimes they left out their district, and so it's really hard to get back to the district on who attended if they don't provide that information. So we want to find a better way for them to do that. So the other thing that we thought about is there's a lot of technologies out there where we could do almost like a virtual public meeting where we would have the presenters. So for instance, Brandon Forey and Don Cross put a lot of time into doing the presentations for different agenda items in the meeting, or I'm sorry, in the training, and they could go and actually record themselves doing that work, and then we could stream that in with the public meeting. So there's some possibilities there that we're going to be working out with next year. Of course, we are not sure what the situation is going to be this time next year with COVID, so we'll keep you posted on that. The other item we talked about with the planning committee is doing better outreach to schools through you all, really. We typically send out the invitation to superintendents, finding out that, you know, especially now, I'm sure that the schools and districts are very overburdened right now. Having you all kind of send out the invitations to the schools that you work with, so, or that are in your jurisdiction. Overall, we had about 200 attendees this year. That does include some of you that attended that the virtual workshop. So we're still kind of figuring out how many actual guards attended, believe it or not. So we'll do better next year on that. But I've been receiving a lot of emails and a lot of phone calls, people interested in seeing the webinar and where it's recorded, how to access that, and also thank yous for providing the resource in this time where we're all kind of distance learning and distance communicating. So next is the fiscal year 2021 work program projects. With regard to the Safe Routes to School studies, as I have been reporting in previous meetings, there were about 4 Safe Routes to School studies in Avondale that we had to kind of put on the back burner because some of the tasks that were going to be completed involved the community meeting. So that was one of the things we decided to kind of put that on the back burner for now. And then we also have new Safe Routes to School studies that are in the books to begin. And so We convened a Safe Routes to Schools Summit on the 17th of this month, and we had really good participation from local agency staff, our consulting staff, as well as school and district administration staff. And from the input that they gave us, which was really valuable to us, we're proposing to pick up all Safe Routes to School studies that are new in the spring of 2021. I think we are going to be finding a way to finish up the Avondale Safe Routes to School studies. So we may be able to move forward with those to finish those up. We may also need to revise the scope, and we may be looking at a possible phased approach for those. Putting into motion the work that the consultants can do ahead of time, and then pushing off some of the other tasks, such as data collection in a second phase. So these are all things that we're looking at. We would be happy to take any input that any of you may have on that subject. So, and of course, the road safety assessments, as well as the local agency safety studies and the bike ped analysis that is to be done in coordination with Valley Metro, Phoenix, Mesa, and Tempe. We are kind of having separate internal discussions on developing strategies on how to move forward on those. So at some point when we can, we will reach out to those local agencies and get their input as well. So before we move forward on anything. And then the framework for predictive safety is actually agenda item 6. So I'll defer information on that to that item. And lastly, just to kind of go through the programming of safety projects. So the first one is the MAG Road Safety Program. We have a little over 1.8 million available for this round. These are for short-term immediate safety needs. Just some quick information here. The benefit cost ratio should be equal or greater to 1. There's a maximum for application at $1 million and a minimum of $50,000. So you can download the application and get any information regarding the RSP program at the URL here, the azmag.gov /RSP. And the applications do need to be submitted to the RSP at azmag.gov email address. The second program that we have a call for projects out for right now, project applications, is the Transportation Alternative Safe Routes to School. This is the non-infrastructure Safe Routes to School projects. It says fiscal year 2023 here, but the call is for 2023 and 2024. As it kind of outlines below, we have priority 1 studies with an available amount in 2023 of a little over $245,000, and for fiscal year 24, a little over $275,000 available. And then for the priority 2 support activity type projects, for fiscal year 23, we have 82,000 available, and in 24 we have 92,000 available. We have maxes and minimums for the priority 1 studies at 170,000 with a minimum of 12,000. And then also for the support activity, the maximum would be $50,000. And again, we have an email, virtual email address that you can, that you need to send the applications to at srts@azmag.gov. And again, the applications and any guidance and sample framework studies are located at the URL noted here on the left-hand side. And then both of those are due at 10 a.m. Thursday, October 1st, 2020, and no late submissions will be accepted. Just one note of caution that you should check to see how large your files are. If the file is too big for your server, I think ours can handle 10. So if it's over that, you may need to send your applications in separate emails. And so kind of plan ahead for that to get those in by 10 a.m. on Thursday, October 1st. And with that, that concludes my program manager's report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Margaret, for that information. I'd highly encourage any committee members and cities, if you have some applications that you're working on, the October 1st deadline is very quickly approaching. So I know it was a great program last year and we were able to fund quite a few projects. So hopefully we can do so again this year, moving forward. Does anybody have any comments from the committee regarding the report? Okay, seeing none, we will move on. Item agenda number 5 is our safety performance target setting. So the 2016 Federal Highway Administration final rule on road safety performance stipulated 5 specific road safety performance measures by which states and MPOs must establish and report performance. Mona Swick will provide a review of the 5 measures and the safety performance targets based on projections for calendar year 2021 as reported to the Federal Highway Administration in August of 2020. So with this, we'll turn it over to Mona at this time.
Mona, do you have your audio on? Mona?
I just text her. She's asking how to unmute. Just hit the little speaker and unmute yourself, Mona.
Okay.
There you
Now
go.
you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Thank you. Sophie.
No
just
problem.
let me know when you'd like me to advance the slide.
Okay, I will. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me today to present on the 2021 Arizona Safety Performance Projection Target Setting. Just to add, the Federal Highway Administration Safety Performance Management final rule required states to set safety performance targets in the Highway Safety Improvement Program annual report, and that's due by the end of August. And in the Highway Safety Plan, and that plan is due by July 1st. And it's required by NHTSA. This year, NHTSA extended the deadline on the Highway Safety Plan to August 1st. ADOT, we send the numbers to Arizona Governors of Highway Safety. We did this year by mid of June for the report. And we are planning on doing that 1st of June every year next year. So Margaret, if you can go to the first slide. Okay, so in this slide, I'm just gonna go over some of the analysis and assumptions that ADOT did this year for the 2021 projections. Basically, we looked at the number of fatalities and serious injuries, and we noticed a higher than predicted decline since 2018. And 2019 fatalities numbers that came, we had it completed by mid of June this year, and we had a decline of 2.87% from the year 2018, and the serious injuries for 2019 declined by 5.79% from the year 2018. We had the crash data for the first quarter of 2020, January 1st through March 31st at that time, and it shows fatalities declined by 2% comparing of the first quarter of 2019. The statewide vehicle miles travel expected to continue to increase by 1.6% per year. Margaret, can we go to the next slide, please? So the performance measures are based on the 5-year rolling average and includes the following: the number of fatalities, rate of fatalities, number of serious injuries, rate of serious injuries, and the number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. The first 3 on the list, ADOT submitted these numbers to Arizona Governor's Office of Highway Safety, so they can enter it in the NHTSA Highway Safety Plan by July 1st. As I said, they were ready to submit it by July 1st, but NHTSA extended the deadline to August 1st, and that's because of COVID-19. And the performance, the column that we submit is the column that shows the 5-year average, 2017, 2021. Those are the 5 numbers that we submit in the highway safety, the HSIP annual report, and the 3 numbers on the top are the numbers that goes in the highway safety plan. The 5-year rolling average. So, slides, I'm going to go over.
Hold on a minute, Mona. Just a reminder to mute your audio if you're not speaking. We're getting some feedback. Thank you. Go ahead, Mona.
I wanted to say that the Highway Safety Plan for Arizona Governors of Highway Safety, we submit that early, but when we submit the HSIP annual report by the end of August, we cannot change those 3 performance measures that we already submitted in the NHTSA report. Just wanted to add that. So the numbers have to stay the same. So next slide, please. We're showing here the annual fatalities and the 5-year average fatalities. And like I said, we in 2019, the results came, or the review of the crashes shows that the numbers declined 2.87 more declined from 2018. Last year, when we submitted the projections for 2020, we have anticipated that we will have an increase in the number of fatalities by 3%. But based on the numbers from 2019 and the first quarter of 2020, we had to adjust that to be able to predict what's going to happen in 2021. So we anticipate a decrease in 2021 by 2%. And then when things go back to normal in 2021, we anticipate a slight increase of 1% of the number of fatalities. 1% from 2020. Next slide, please. The fatality rates, when we submitted the projections last year for 2020, we anticipated that there will be a 2% increase in fatality rates. But again, with the numbers coming in for 2019 and the first quarter of 2020, it shows decline. We had to adjust that for 2020 to predict 2021. So we anticipate 3% decline in the fatality rate, and then anticipated no change in 2021. So it's a 0 change in the fatality rate. If I go to the next slide, statewide serious injuries, we anticipated in 2020 that we will have a decline 3%. in the serious injury number. And we believe this is going to continue happening in this year. So that number stays the same. And then more decline next year in 2021 by 4%. In the next slide, the serious injury crash rate and 5 years average crash rate. I'm going to say it's serious injury rates because we're actually counting the number of person injured, not the number of crashes. So I have to make adjustments in that slide and just the wording. But again, we anticipated reduction in decline 3% in the serious injury rates. That continue happen in 2020, and that we will have more decline in 2021 by 6%. If next slide, the annual non-motorized fatality and serious injuries 5-year, we have a decline in 2019 in the number, and comparing of 2018, and also looking at the first quarter of 2020, that we're going to continue seeing that decline. We anticipated an increase 3% last year, but this is good news. There is a decrease in 2020 by 2%, and we anticipate that in 2022, things, after COVID-19, we're hoping things will go back normal, and there will be a slight increase in the number of fatalities. If we go to the next slide, okay, so NPOs that choose to set separate rates and targets, they just have to submit and report to their vehicle mile travel estimate and what methodology they use to estimate their targets. Targets are reported to ADOT. If Federal Highway requested it, we will made it available to Federal Highway, but we don't report it anywhere. We just keep it in ADOT. It doesn't go in the HSID annual report or the Highway Safety Plan. When the NPOs establish their targets, that is 180 days after the state enters the numbers in the Highway Safety Improvement Program. So it's 180 days after the end of August. NPO's targets are not included in the assessment or whether states met or made a significant progress towards meeting its targets. Basically, Federal Highway in December will have all the data completed for number of fatalities, serious injuries, and vehicle miles travel, and they will calculate for each state if they met the target or made any improvements, and they will send us the results next year in March. So ADA recommends NPOs to adopt state safety performance targets. And in the next slide, what would happen if the state did not meet or make significant progress towards meeting the targets? 4 out of 5 of the targets we have to meet. So we will, the state will have to use obligation authority equal to the HSIB apportionment for the prior year, only for highway safety improvements projects. So we have to spend more money on HSIB projects and submit an HSIB implementation plan. This, for the targets in 2018, ADOT did meet 4 out of 5 targets. But there were other states that did not meet that, and there was Federal Highway provided training on the HSIB implementation plan, and we did attend that, but we should be okay for 2018. In the next slide, I'm we did just a quick look to see, did we meet the target for 2019? We did meet the targets in 4 out of 5. So, like I said, the numbers for number of fatalities came lower than what expected for 2019. So in the next slide, this is just notes that I have to talk about how do I round up the numbers. So we have lots of numbers when we project the safety performance targets. We have annual numbers, we have annual rates, we have 5-year average numbers, we have 5-year average rates. So I had to write them down. It was really hard for me to memorize. So every one has to be rounded up in a certain way. Annual numbers, fatality, serious injuries, non-motorized, this has to be a whole number. 5-year average, fatalities, serious injuries, and non-motorized will be rounded to the nearest 10th decimal place. Annual fatalities and serious injury rates are rounded to the nearest 100th decimal place. And then the 5-year average rate rounded to the nearest 1,000th decimal place. There's no way I can memorize that, so I had to write it down. So the state safety target determination or the results are available on the website, Transportation Performance Management reporting website. So if you go to that website, you can click on any state you want to look at. If you check Arizona, you will see the results for 2018 targets. With that, that's all what I have.
Mona,
thank you,
thank you, Mona. Just a quick note. I will be posting this presentation on the event webpage for today's meeting. So if you want to click on that link, you'll be able to do so from there. And then we did have Mohammed develop some projections based on the specific to the MAG region crash data. So he's prepared a slide and he will be going through those numbers for the MAG region. Thank you, Mona.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you, Mr. Chair and member of the Transportation Safety Committee. So these are our MAG 2021 safety projections based on the latest year of 2019 crash data that was made available by ADOT. So what we did here, we did come up with our 2021 projections, but I want to give you a caution to exercise, because when we will be using these 2021 projections, like ADOT has their 2020 some portion of data, real-time data available for example, for the first quarter. We didn't use any 2020 real data to come up with this projection. So what we used is we used real data for 2017, 18, 19, and then come up with projections for 2020 and then subsequently 2021 projections. So if you look at the 2019 actual numbers from the finalized 2019 crash data, you can see in the MAG region, we had a decrease in all of the 5 metrics that is required to be reported to FHWA. And you can also see the 5-year average from 2015 to 2019 for each of the metrics. And when you look into the 2021 projections based on the real data for 2017, 18, 19, you can see there's a decrease for all of the metrics to be reported to the FHWA. And this is specifically for the MAG region. And to make a note that for the MAG region, we did use the vehicle miles traveled extracted by our transportation modeling group, and that VMT is exclusively for the MAG planning area region, and that's the VMT that we use to come up with the rates for S2 and S4 matrix. And as you can see, for all the matrix, the changes here, the percentage of change here are basically the annual changes from 2020 to 2021 As you can see, from minus 7.4% to minus 2.6% to the non-motorized. These all are annual changes from 2020 to 2021, where 2020 is a projected number and 2021 is also a projected numbers. Obviously, these numbers are subjected to change based on the real data that we get on 2020. So we will keep you updated how those numbers look once we have the 2020 data available. So Margaret, that's what I have to report for this.
Okay. Thank you, Mohammed. It looks like, Mr. Chair, that concludes the report on this, and this is on the agenda for action.
Thank you, Margaret, and thank you, Mona. Thank you, Mohammed, for that report. We appreciate it. So this is on the item, is agenda for action directly. So we do need to have a vote on whether or not we accept ADOT's established 2021 safety performance targets. Before we necessarily call for a motion, are there any questions from committee members to Mona or to Mohammed or anybody regarding the presentation? I do have one. So one of my questions is, so 2019 was down a fair amount. I don't know anybody can really address why. I think I saw a slide, Mona, there that you showed what we had projected or given to FHWA for our 2019 numbers. And it looks as though we are going to miss one of them. And that's because we actually were too low compared to what our projection was. Is that correct?
Yes, that would be the fatality rate.
Well,
and what happened is there was in the fatality in the volume and vehicle miles traveled in 2019, the number came much higher, almost a 6% increase in the vehicle miles traveled for 2019. And I know that ADOT MPD explained to me what happened and why that big jump in the volume. But also we had anticipated the number of fatalities in 2019, 1,105, and the number came 982. So there was several things that affected the fatality rate, and we seemed to miss it in 2018 and missed it again in 2019.
But ultimately, we are saying that we did better than what our projection was.
Exactly.
And we still miss it. I guess that's my question.
This is Jeff. The meet or the main significant progress per minute is based on the 5-year average, which if you look at that, we did not.
Okay.
It's 1.442 versus 1.458 in the 2019.
Okay, so the
Annually,
5-year average is what went up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for your clarification, Jeff. Does anybody else have any questions or comments regarding these reports or discussion?
Mr. Chair, this is Jeff again. Mona, you had indicated that there was a couple slides. I believe it had to do with just the naming of the graphs for the serious injury. You had crash rate versus injury rate. Was there something there you wanted to change prior to it being posted?
Yes, so what it says serious injury crash rate, serious injuries rate, and instead of removing crash and serious injury rate, that's because if I would leave crash, it will make it look I'm counting crashes when actually I'm counting person seriously injured. So I didn't want to leave the crash because in the fatalities, I'm saying fatality rate. I'm not saying using crashes. So I wanted just to remove crashes because we're counting here person killed in a crash or number of person injured, not counting the crash. So I will make the changes, send it to you, Margaret.
Yeah, that would be great moving forward, because this will eventually go through the MAG approval process. However, I just kind of wanted to point out that when we submit our letter to ADOT, let me see if there's a good slide that shows. We just basically state what's on this slide right here. And so we will, so it will look like this, which accurately reflects her notation of that it's serious injuries and not crashes. But yeah, it would be good to have an updated slide so there's no confusion if there were to be a presentation requested for this item moving forward.
Okay, I'll do that after this meeting, yes.
Thank you.
Hey, Margaret, this is Kathy. On that slide you just showed, it looked like non-motorized 5-year was going down, but I thought on one of the later charts, it was going up slightly. And maybe it's difference between 5-year versus annual, I don't know, but. So you see this one shows the 5-year average goes down for non-motorized.
Mm-hmm.
And then the graphic one shows
for non-motorized.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Shows it going up.
So if you look.
Is that just because of the 5-year average thing?
Mona, that might be a better question for you.
Yeah, so we're showing 2020 decline, 2% in the annual.
Right.
And then in the 2021, an increase in the annual.
So that's just because it's an annual versus the 5-year, which is on the first slide.
Yeah, so the 5-year average.
Okay.
It will show a different number. It will make it look like, yeah, it is increasing, but it's the 5-year average, and the numbers were higher in 2017, 2018, and the previous years.
Okay, and then can I ask, so with non-motorized, what are you using that makes it look like it, how are you projecting those going up? Because more people are using non-motorized ways to get around, or?
We're
safety improvements.
We anticipated for the number of fatalities for 2021 that it's gonna increase because we anticipated that the economy will go back to normal. I mean, this is COVID-19 is like an unusual time, so it was hard for us to predict if it's gonna continue to next year or not. But we anticipated that it's gonna go back to normal, and then fatalities will increase for non-motorized and for vehicles fatality.
Okay, so basically on the economy. All right, thank you.
So this is Mohammed again from MAG. Mona, just to clarify, so when you come up with the projected numbers, so you do use some kind of regression modeling, right, to come up with the predicted numbers? Like how do you nowadays, how does ADOT come up with those anticipated numbers? Like, are you coming up with those numbers arbitrarily, or are you coming up with those numbers based on a regression equation based on the previous historic data?
We did it in 2 different ways. In the previous years, when we anticipated the projections, we looked at the 5-year and what is happening in the data in the 5 years. But in this year specifically, we didn't look at although we are showing the 5 years, but the 5 years, when we looked at it, it showed increase in 21, increase in 2020, but that's not happening. So we had to only look at what's happening in 18, 19, and the first quarter of what we have now. Because if we looked at the 5 year, for us, the data will show an increase and continue increase in 21 and continue increase in 2020. And we didn't want to do that this year. So the decision was made is just to look at what happened in 2018, what happened in 2019, and we looked at the crash facts, and we saw lots of the efforts that was done for pedestrian reduction in crashes. We noticed the alcohol reduction in, alcohol-related reduction in crashes. There were several factors that impacted 2019 numbers that it was hard for us to look at the 5 year number.
Yeah, and just to let the Transportation Safety Committee members know, in MAG, when we came up with our projections, we also used the latest 3 years of data that we have available, and those are 2017, 18, and 19. So that's pretty much consistent with what ADOT has done in terms of using the number of years of crashes. So we are using 3 years in MAG, and as Mona just said, ADOT has used like 18, 19, and the latest available data they have from 2020, which we do not have available in MAG. So yeah, that's pretty consistent. Just wanted to let you know that.
Yeah, when I did when I did analysis and I presented it to my supervisor, it showed increase in, that is 2020, like I said, it's going to increase. It's the 2021, it's going to increase. And the feedback that I got that Arizona governors of highway safety prefer not to look at just the 5 years and to look at closer years, 2 years, 3 years, not just to look at the 5 year trend. And so we went back and run it again. We tried to explain what's happening in 2019, and it's good news, the big reduction in the number of fatalities. It's just that it happened before COVID-19, and it's not really because of COVID-19. So we had to explain what is happening to the number of fatalities in 2019 and why. And the crash facts, 2019 crash facts that we published actually explain
Mona, did we lose your audio?
If we get her back, I do have a question on slide 2.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I was talking to myself.
This slide, Jeff? Jeff? Jeff, can you hear me?
Sorry, and then I had mine muted. If you can go to the table that has the 2019 baseline, the 2021 projections. On this one, where you have the annual change under the 2021 projection, that is the change from 2020, which is not depicted in the table, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And then that bottom one for non-motorized, I think somebody else had brought this up. Should that not be, I mean, this is just semantics and how you set up your table, but shouldn't that be green? Because the 5 year average for your 21 projections is lower than your baseline.
It's a 2% increase from 2020 for the annual change. So
Right.
It's red because it's an increase.
Right, but I was looking at the 5 year average is what we're going to look at when it comes time for us to make the determination if you met or made significant progress. So you actually you'd make that one if this is what it turns out to be. Because your 781 is lower than the 791.
Yes, and then they would look at the actual number for 2021 at that time when they will compare 781.9 with the numbers, the baseline in 2019, and they will compare it with the 2021 actual numbers that will be coming in at that time.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, you've got the other ones green. I thought they were green because your projections would meet those targets.
Oh.
But
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Green meet, and then the red it didn't meet. Not in this slide.
Okay, thank you.
Does anyone else have any further discussion or questions regarding this item?
I'll just add a comment. It's interesting that the MAG region is going to have all 5 of them showing the reductions. I mean, it used to be about 67% of all crashes were in at least Maricopa County, so that's really good at that.
Yeah, and Jeff, Mohammed here again, just to clarify, so as you see all those 5 metrics in green, and those are annual changes from 2020 to 2021, we found that all of those metrics are declining compared to 2020 in the 2021 projection. But we may need to look into the 5 years average if you go to the slide to see like if it's really decreasing from 2019 to 2021.
Yeah, it looked
Yeah,
like
it's all decreasing. Yeah,
that's a really good sign. Hopefully that's the way it turns out.
Very good. Thank you all for the discussion. So at this point, could I have a motion to recommend the MAG support the ADOT established 2021 safety performance targets?
This is Kathy Hollow. I'll make a motion that we support what was presented here this morning.
Thank you, Kathy. We have a motion from Kathy. Is there a second?
Aaron Gilbert, I'll second.
Thank you, Aaron. So any further, actually, we've done discussion a fair amount. So at this time, Margaret, do you want to do a call for vote on the motion?
Yes, and here again, please unmute your speaker and express yay or nay your vote. Mona?
Yay.
Shane?
Yay.
Tom?
Yay.
John Willett?
Yay.
Nick Russo?
Yay.
Aaron Pinkerton?
Yay.
Tony Evo?
Yay.
Hugh Biak?
Yay.
Josh Plum?
Yay.
Mazen Muradovich?
Yeah.
Brandon Forey?
Yay.
Carl Langford?
Yay.
Kathy Borges? Kathy Borges?
Yay.
Marsha Rigo?
Yes.
Sam Taylor?
Yay.
Dana Asiani? Dana Asiani? Kathy Hollow?
Yay.
Frank from Valley Metro?
Yay.
Margaret, this is Dana. Yay, sorry.
That's okay. Did I miss anybody that may have joined us since the motion for the minutes? All right, Mr. Chair. Looks like we have positive vote for this motion and passes.
Thank you, Margaret, and thank you, everybody, for the vote and discussion on this. Next agenda item is our framework for predictive safety. In fiscal year 2021, MAG work program includes a project to develop a framework for predictive safety with an estimated budget of approximately $60,000. Work with a technical advisory group to develop and refine a scope has been completed at this point in time. Mohammed will provide a report on the key elements of the on-call consultant scope. So at this time, we'll turn it over to Mohammed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and member of the Transportation Safety Committee. As you mentioned, this is a 2020 FY 2021 project with an estimated budget of 60,000. So the idea of this project came out as ADOT will be adopting a nationally recognized HSM-based predictive safety analysis tool in the near future to implement a science-based safety management system. And in this regard, ADOT has made some significant progress to identify data needs and data gaps for state highway system for this purpose. So that's why this project is important to work in conjunction with ADOT to identify the data needs and data gaps in the MAG region, especially at the local level, to establish a data integration strategy for the local agencies so that we can implement the highway safety manual based predictive safety analysis. So the intent of this project is to assess the data needs, data gaps, and establish a suitable framework for this type of safety analysis. And most importantly, it is to be done in conjunction with ADOT and in strong coordination with ADOT, as they are also working on this and they will be adopting a tool in the near future. Next slide, please. So basically, as you can see, highway safety manual, it has three parts, A, B, and C. So HSM-based predictive safety analysis tool that we are talking about here to implement in the MAG region based on what ADOT adopts basically deals with the part B. And there are also tools to apply for implementing part C, which is mostly predictive analysis for evaluation of projects and for future condition assessments. So this project will primarily focus on identifying the data needs and data gaps for HSM-based predictive safety analysis to be deployed at the network and project level in the MAG region. Next slide, please. So these are the main scopes of the project that we will be working to achieve. So basically, as I told before, MAG region data needs and data gaps identification and prioritization based on what the local agency has available and what region's priorities are based on functional classification of roadways, and then also to come up with a data integration plan strategy, and also support requirements for local agencies who may have or have not the data at their disposal and may need some support to report the data to ADOT or MAG or maintaining the data. And finally, the main two important components of the scope is to come up with framework for incorporating predictive safety at the two level of MAG analysis, which is MAG network level analysis and MAG project level analysis. So for MAG network level analysis, we'll be focusing on refining our network screening and how we can incorporate some of the components of the predictive safety analysis into our currently existing and the tools that we use, for example, RTSIMs and ACs, and we'll be also looking at how we can leverage the tool that ADOT will be using for benefits of the MAG region local agencies. And for the project level analysis, we'll be coming up with a framework for how we can do the predictive method for MAG and local agency safety projects, for example, local agency safety studies and HSIP applications, if we can come up with a better way to calculate the benefit cost ratio based on the predictive safety analysis and before after evaluation of many of the safety projects that MAG has implemented or local agencies have implemented or planning to implement. Next slide, please. So at this point of time, what we have for this project is that we have drafted the scope of the work document for this project, and we did form a technical advisory group consisting of members from ADOT, MAG staff, and also from local agencies. We did receive many valuable comments from some of the members of this tag, and we tried our best to incorporate the comments into the scope of the work. And we also did have a comment resolution meeting with ADOT to make sure that we are doing everything in coordination with ADOT, and we are not repeating or duplicating some of the effort that ADOT has already done. So at this point, we have a revised scope of work ready to be reviewed by the Transportation Safety Committee members. So based on that, we will go to the next step for the project, which are reflected in the next slide. So we will try to get input from the Transportation Safety Committee members within a week from today. Today, we will be sending out the draft scope of work to the Transportation Safety Committee members. So please feel free to provide your comments if you have, and based on the incorporation of those comments, we'll be finalizing our scope of work, and then we will go with our fee proposal request from one of our MAG on-call consultants, and hopefully we'll be kicking off this project by early October, according to what we have at this point of time. So these are the steps we are planning to implement in the near future for this project. So yeah, that's the update I have for this project, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mohammed. This information is for discussion only at this point in time. Are there any questions from committee members regarding this item? Mohammed, I do have one question on this. This is really looking at a highway safety manual kind of predictive measure. This is not anything to do with kind of camera studies and close call type things to figure out locations that are having a lot of near misses potentially, correct?
Yes, you are correct. This project is about implementing the HSM-based predictive safety analysis. The types of safety analysis you're talking about, those are not part of the scope of this project. But as you can see, some of the future MAC projects will also be using some of that type of technology to find out if those are, promising technologies to use for proactive safety analysis.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Any other questions from committee members regarding this item? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to item number 7. This is an update on the development of the MAG Strategic Transportation Safety Plan. Technical work associated with the MAG Strategic Transportation Safety Plan update continues. MAG staff will provide a review of presentations provided at the MAG Management Committee on the interim findings and strategies as it relates to the development of the next RTP. The MAG consultant staff will provide an overview of the sketch implementation plan materials and discussion held with the multi-agency, multidiscipline transportation safety stakeholders group that was held on September 15th. So at this time, we will go ahead and turn it over to, I believe, Margaret and Mike Blankenship with Greenlight Consulting.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Transportation Safety Committee. So the presentation I'm going to share with you, as Mr. Chair mentioned, is really the same presentation I provided to Management Committee last week. You all have seen a lot of the information on these slides, so I'll just kind of be going over some of the highlights of what we are trying to convey to city managers for this effort. And again, it really is framed with those things or the strategies that are implemented through this plan update to help inform the development of the RTP, because obviously we'll be in implementation phase while there's still development going on in the next RTP. So with that, again, you've all seen and we've had discussions regarding the vision, goal, and action areas at this committee level. And we just wanted to highlight the fact that on the Phoenix strip, or the Peanut strip, Schultz really captures the biases that the STSP goal seeks to recognize and address. And Lucy and Linus's discussion gets at the core of some of the issues and barriers that are traditionally addressed. Acknowledging these barriers and taking positive action will facilitate broader discussion and emphasize the responsibility of everyone to ensure their own safety and that of others. So we moved on further to discuss specifically some of the strategies, some of the key strategies. You will remember that we did kind of that we did categorize the over 70 strategies that we're looking at in the implementation plan in order to draw a better connection between implementation of those strategies and development of the RTP. So, the first category is identify locations of opportunity. And you can see here that incorporating the use of demographic and land use data can be used for, as well as the road safety assessments, consideration of design phase roadway safety assessments, and developing meaningful safety evaluation criteria can really lend into the RTP for prioritizing regional projects, help with the identification of regional priority project, and so on and so forth. The second, promote, and I would add promote and implement the use of high value countermeasures. Again, just a reminder that high value countermeasures are strategies with the most potential for reducing the severity and number of people impacted by crashes and are easy to, or inexpensive to implement. So I placed some of the key strategies that we have been discussing for months now under this magnifying glass, so to speak, just to kind of highlight that there are several different things that we can do with this type of these countermeasures, or this list of countermeasures. And that this is where we have a tremendous opportunity to be dynamic and flexible and responsive, particularly in areas of future growth, as well as in the more built out areas of the region. I underscored positive offset here to make an example of a project that we did previously in 2017 that facilitated some median improvements to improve from negative or zero offset to positive offset. This is a similar type of project that we could take a look at, whether we're looking at one of these countermeasures or maybe a grouping of these countermeasures. We can develop a catalog of need for safety improvement projects that can be implemented with the program funding for the MAG Road Safety Program. And reminded them that that's only funded currently through fiscal year 2024. And so this would be a key element of implementation of this plan that would help really establish the need for that, continuing that funding source. And then as far as communicate the safety message, it's what we communicate as the safety message is as important as how it's delivered. So I highlighted the implementation of the pedestrian bicyclist safety education and enforcement program for implementation, and personalize the safety message for a common language for both stakeholders, a wide range of stakeholders as well as the public. And another potential would be lane departure focused PSA, since we are focusing on lane departure in this plan. So the work done through implementation of these strategies can also establish safety education enforcement as priority regional programs. Currently, we don't have a lot of options in funding education type of programs, whether it be through HSIP or even the RSP program, because those are benefit cost ratio based. It's hard to get education. So we're hoping with these types of strategies to help really identify that as a regional priority project. So with that, I can stop here. If I saw some, I can't see the chat box. So Mohammed, if you wanted to read if there's questions regarding this, and then I can answer those and we can move on with Mike's portion of the presentation. I'd be happy to answer.
Yes, Margaret, at this point, I don't see any comments as of yet in the chat box. Yeah.
Oh, okay. This is just Josh Plum saying that he had to leave for another meeting. Thanks for joining us, Josh. Okay, so with that, we can move on to Mike's portion of the presentation, unless anybody has any questions regarding this portion. All right. Mike, are you muted?
Yes. Yep. No. Thanks, Margaret. So we just presented last week to the Transportation Safety Stakeholders Group the draft format of the implementation plan. And basically what we're trying to come up with here is very straightforward, short and simple for each of those key strategies. Margaret just mentioned several of them, but for each of those priority strategies, something a little graphic like this. So we're highlighting two of them here. One of them, a softer strategy, conducting network screening, including use of demographic and land use data. And then the second box there, more of an engineering countermeasure, positive offset left turn lanes, which Margaret mentioned. So what we're trying to capture with each of the priority strategies are these key elements here. Well, which of those three categories does the strategy fit under? The identifying locations and areas of opportunity, the high value countermeasures, and then communicating the safety message. So here's two of the three categories. And then what the exact strategy is, who would be involved in implementing that strategy in terms of, is it the local agency, is it ADOT, MAG? Is there a funding source available? And specifically, what is that funding source? Not just the funding agency, but the source within that agency. How effective is the strategy? And for most of those, the effectiveness is going to be a crash reduction factor taken from the CMF clearinghouse. But with some of these, as you see on the first one here, there's not really a CMF. It's more of a how was it implemented? Did it lead to any type of changes in behavior or knowledge? Coming up with some planning level cost estimates to implement the strategy. How long it would take to implement it. And here we're looking at basically three time frames, kind of a short, which would be less than a year, a medium time range between 1 and 5 years, and then a longer term, anything that may take longer than 5 years to implement. And then performance measures. What are the key performance measures for each of these strategies? Keeping in mind that, again, we want to keep the performance measures easy to obtain and of value to MAG and the local agency to obtain. So with the two here, let's focus on the second one there, the positive offsets. We're estimating about $50,000 per leg to pull the median back and improve it. So for a full intersection, if you had medians on all 4 approach legs, you're looking at a $200,000 project. Performance measure for that, we would like to see a decrease in left turn crashes. So we've sent these out for all of the strategies to our safety stakeholder group, getting some feedback. We received some feedback during the conference call last week. We'd like to get additional feedback from this committee, the Transportation Safety Committee, on all of these. Margaret, I assume you're going to be sending all of the strategies, these tables with all the strategies out to this group.
That is correct. And just to make a, excuse me, just to make a note here, and this is some of the things that we would like you to take a look at. So as an example, on the performance measure for the positive offset, I personally think that should be reworded to say decrease in number of left turn crashes at intersections. Because obviously the positive offset, you can't really implement that at a mid-block. So those are kind of the things that we're looking at getting from you, and I'd be interested to hear what the committee members have to say about some of these other, whether it be on the performance measures or the cost to implement or things like that. So that's this is the time when we get to really drill down on these strategies, because once it gets into the implementation plan and we put some planning costs to it, that's when we're kind of tying up the plan and how it's going to be recommended for approval. So on the coming slides, you'll see a little bit more of what we're looking for from you. But yes, I will be sending the entire, this is just 2. So we'll be sending out the entire sketch implementation plan to committee members.
And in addition to reviewing and commenting on what we've shown here, if there are any key elements that we've left out that you think would be of value to include in the implementation plan, we definitely want to hear from you on that also.
Right. So, and to that point, something to think about down the road is that we want to use this template and hope it translates into kind of an interactive STSP implementation webpage. Where you can do, filtering and sorting. Let's say you want something to address intersection crashes in your agency. You could filter and sort this information, and there would be information for you on different strategies that you can implement within that. So also to Mike's point of if there's anything that we've left out that you feel like might be useful information, please let us know that as well.
Yeah, and I think also on the webpage there, Margaret, if we can also have links to provide additional description or information. For example, positive offset left turn lanes. Not everybody understands what the issue is or what that's addressing, or leading pedestrian intervals. So we can have some hot links on the webpage that would provide additional information, maybe some visuals and some examples.
Next slide, Mike.
Yep.
Okay.
So as we're putting this implementation plan together, especially on the description of the strategies, and for that matter, the strategies themselves that we've included, we want to make sure we're focusing on those strategies that can be implemented fairly easily, whether it's by the local agency, the city, county, tribe, or whether it's MAG. But we want to focus on the strategies that can actually get installed out there in the field. And then in the description, we want to make sure that we're phrasing those strategies as an action while keeping it as simple as possible within those tables. The description. Next. So with the planning level cost, the cost to implement, if it's let's say a education campaign, or as with most of these, they're engineering countermeasures. So the cost to actually design and construct and have it out in the field. Yeah, if we have any agencies that have construction costs that we could use to make sure that we're getting as accurate as possible on these planning level costs. I know we used the City of Phoenix cost estimates a couple years ago for those, for some HSIP applications for the negative offsets, and I think for some signal projects and Hawks. But we would like to see any of that if anybody has some recent data that we could use in terms of cost estimates. And yeah, we already mentioned the cost on the negative offsets there. We're showing a cost per leg. And if you're going to do all 4 legs, that you'd multiply by 4 in this case. So it'd be 200,000 or 50,000 per leg, 200,000 for the intersection. Next. So on the performance measures, again, we want to make sure that what we're putting in the implementation plan is easy to collect, it's of value, and some of these are going to be more of a bean counting type of performance measure, how many things were implemented. But for most of them, it's going to be looking at the crash data, which should be fairly easy to get the data through either RT-SIMS or ADOT's ASIS database. And looking at specific types of crashes and reductions in those crashes based on the strategy. We had some discussion with the safety stakeholders group on whether or not there was any value in trying to collect speed data or volume data, especially when we're looking at strategies of traffic calming in nature, lane reductions, reducing the width of lanes, trying to bring speeds down. There was some discussion on that. It was finally decided that those may be used more in the future when we're looking at before-after studies and looking at maybe 3 years before and after a traffic calming project was installed. That really the crash data might be the simplest and easiest to collect right now. Next. So with next steps, Margaret she's been presenting and will continue to present, I think, over the next few weeks to various policy committees on what we've done so far, get any input and feedback. If they've got some additional strategies they might want us to consider to get into the implementation plan. The Task 7 draft report is pretty much complete. And we'll be looking for feedback on that. This is the one on emerging technologies and how they impact safety. And then the last 3 tasks, the safety performance reporting, and then the draft and final plan. This implementation plan piece is really the main part of task 9 right now that we're working on. I think that's it on this update. So open it up for any questions for Margaret or me or comments.
Just a quick note. Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we looked at October 8th to receive comments and feedback from the state or from the safety committee members regarding the implementation plan. Is that meet your recollection?
I'm drawing a blank. That sounds like if that's the case, then we were giving them 3 weeks, which typically I think we give them 2 weeks, but.
You're right. I think one of the things that we discussed was October 1st would be the same day that they are due to provide applications. Yeah. And so we decided to push it another week.
You're right.
Okay. So yes, if we could have, by end of business, October 8th, that would be great. So I think, Mr. Chair, that concludes our report.
Thank Thank you very much, Margaret and Mike. We appreciate your guys' effort on this. So with this, any questions and or comments from the committee members on this as it moves forward?
Hi, this is Kathy Hall. I just have a quick question. Did you say this was already reviewed by somebody else? Safety stakeholders or somebody?
Yeah, so we've been having regular stakeholders group meetings. That's the group that's kind of providing input to the development of the plan. And then we typically will bring the recommendations or the discussion that group had to the safety committee, since the safety committee provides oversight to development of the plan itself, as well as the implementation of it. So they are also going through the same effort of reviewing the implementation plan, and we're expecting comments and input from them as well.
Oh, okay, so they haven't reviewed it yet.
No, they're in the process of doing so.
And are they members of this committee as well?
Some of them are. Kathy Borquez is a member of that stakeholders group. But then what we tried to do, Kathy, is we tried to make sure that we had representatives from some of the other MAG committees. So, but that we're also, so for instance, we have Jennifer Jack from Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian Community. We have a member from Maricopa County. We have a member from ADOT. We have some traffic enforcement representatives on that stakeholders group. We also have the administrator from one of the school districts here in the region. So it's a very wide, and as you know, as we mentioned, it's a multi-agency, multidisciplinary team that's providing input.
Fit together, like I don't know what a stakeholder group is versus a committee. So is it, so anyways, that's fine.
Any other questions or comments from committee members regarding this item? Okay. So one question I have is, are we expecting an email with the deadlines of when this needs to be reviewed and links to this information?
Yes, you are. At the very latest tomorrow morning, you will receive an email from me regarding that with the sketch implementation plan. And I think what we decided to do with the stakeholders group is to, it's in an Excel format. We kind of decided that that was the easiest format to work in, so.
Excellent, thank you very much. So with that, we will go ahead and move on to agenda item number 8. This is reports by committee members. I'd like to invite any member of the Transportation Safety Committee to report on ongoing safety related project activities in their jurisdiction. Do we want to do a roll call and ask everyone, or just ask those that want to speak?
I have a comment, please, or just a report. This is Mazen, Maricopa County.
Go ahead, Mazen.
Yeah, thank you. So just an announcement that Maricopa County DOT will be participating in a virtual presentation on October the 6th, 2020, from noon till 1. The title of that presentation is Benefits of High Friction Surface to Reduce Runoff Road Crashes. This one will be in collaboration with the FHWA Arizona office and also Arizona DPS. So real briefly, this is a new emerging application, the high friction surface treatment, that has been proven to reduce crashes and the related injuries and fatality, and help motorists maintain better control in dry and wet driving conditions. So Maricopa County qualified for HSIP funding and applied it towards 2 locations in Maricopa County. The project was completed in December 2019. We're currently conducting after study. So finally, the presentation is hosted by Arizona ITE and ITS Arizona. Look for a meeting invite from AZITE shortly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mazen.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I can go ahead and do a roll call.
That would be great. Thank you, Margaret.
Sure. Mona, do you have any report for ADOT or anything you'd like to report for ADOT?
I don't have any updates from ADOT. The HSIB call for project is we still have the tentative schedule, July 1st next year. We have not posted it online because it was not approved yet by management. And that's all what I have.
Thank you, Mona. Shane Kiso, any report?
No report at this time. Thank you, Margaret.
No problem. Tom Peterson?
Nothing to report.
Thank you. John Willett, anything to report for Buckeye?
Nothing, Margaret. Thank you for asking.
Mm-hmm. Nick Russo, any report from El Mirage?
No, Margaret. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Aaron Pinkerton, Gilbert?
Nothing too much to report. We are doing a kind of a deep dive, reviewing all of our standards. More just updating things we've quasi already been telling people. So nothing that will come to the committee, but something that we're looking at in the town. So I thought we're good. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony Ambo?
None at this time. Thank you.
Hugh Biak?
Nothing for Goodyear.
Thank you. Josh Plum? He may have left. Yes, I think he did. Mazen already provided his report. Brandon Forey. He may have had to leave as well. Mr. Langford, do you have a report for Phoenix?
Yes, we do have a minor report to mention. In the city of Phoenix, as many of you know, we have been implementing several hawks recently. I'd like to announce that we recently installed our 65th hawk in the city. And it's actually 15 hawks that we built in this last fiscal year. So that was a big accomplishment on our end, and we've got additional funding for almost an additional 30 over the next 5 years. So hopefully some of that is helping to reduce some of the collisions and is reflected in our 2019 numbers at the moment, which is a good thing. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kathy Borges, any report for Pinal County?
Margaret, I don't have anything new to report at this time, but thank you.
Mm-hmm. Marshall Regal for Queen Creek?
No report.
Okay. Sam Taylor for City of Scottsdale?
No report for me.
All right. Dana Oziani from Surprise?
Nothing today, thank you.
All right. Kathy Hollow, report from Tempe?
Not at this time, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Frank from Valley Metro, any report?
Nothing to report today, Margaret. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Jeff King, would you provide a report?
Yeah, we've got several workshops or peer exchanges scheduled that were tentatively rescheduled into October. I'm going to be reaching out and finding out if I know a couple of these will impact Phoenix, related to Complete Streets workshop. We can virtualize some of these, but we may have to come back and revisit moving them into the next calendar year. Most of the FHWA workshops are being virtualized if it's still being held this year. But I'll reach out to the individuals on those. But for now, it's kind of sound like we're going to push them out some more.
All right, thank you, Jeff. That's the end of the roll call for reports from committee members, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Margaret, and thank you for those that provided those reports. So any requests for future agenda items? That's our next item. Do any members of the Transportation Safety Committee have topics or issues of interest that you would like to have considered for discussion at a future meeting? If you do so, please speak up and let us know, or do something in the chat. You could also send your request to Margaret or myself via email if you think of something at a future point. Seeing no requests at this time, at this point, our next meeting date, time and place, it will be at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, November 17th. It is still planned to be a virtual meeting, unless otherwise notified ahead of time, but that is currently the plan. Please note that this is an earlier start time, and to facilitate some project evaluation for the applications for the RSP. So anticipate it will start a little bit earlier, so it may still extend till roughly noon during that time frame. So with that, at this point,
Mr. Chair, if I could just
yes.
make a quick note to that evaluation. One thing I forgot to mention during my program manager's report with regard to the programming of these two different funds is you can expect the week of, or the second week of October, a link to where you can download those applications for the Safe Routes to School as well as the RSP for your review and evaluation. The evaluation form to be used in order to evaluate those projects will also be uploaded on that webpage that you'll receive the link for. So look for that the second week of October.
Thank you for that information, Margaret. At this point in time, unless anybody else has anything else to bring forward, we can go ahead and adjourn at this point. So, seeing none, thank you all for coming. We no longer need to do roll call for adjournment. Appreciate everybody's attendance today.
Thank you, everybody.